So what does it take to become the richest person on the entire planet? Well, for Elon Musk, the journey to the top was shockingly fast. In early 2021, he just blew past everyone. We're going to dive in and break down exactly how he pulled it off.
It all started with this number. On January 7, 2021, Elon Musk's net worth hit a staggering $186 billion. That was the exact moment he officially became the wealthiest person in the world.
And just like that, he dethroned the reigning champ, Amazon's Jeff Bezos, who'd been sitting on that throne since 2017. This was a huge shift in the world of big money. So, what was the secret sauce? How on earth did it all happen so unbelievably fast?
Okay, so the answer really boils down to one thing. One single, incredibly powerful factor. The meteoric rise of his electric car company, Tesla.
I mean, it's the sheer scale of the growth that is just mind-blowing. In only 1 year, Tesla's stock value didn't just climb, it absolutely exploded. We're talking an increase of more than 7 times. You just don't see jumps like that for a company this big. It's almost unheard of.
And here's the crucial link. See, Musk owned about 20% of Tesla. So as the company's value launched into the stratosphere, his personal fortune was basically strapped right onto the very same rocket.
But this wasn't just some random stroke of luck, not at all. A unique combination of factors came together in 2020, creating what you could only call a perfect storm that sent Tesla's stock to the moon. Let's get into what they were.
First off, Tesla finally hit its stride with production. They delivered nearly 500,000 cars, proving they could really operate at scale. Then, a huge moment. It was added to the prestigious S&P 500 index. This was a massive stamp of approval that basically forced big investment funds to buy its stock. On top of that, you had a friendly political climate signaling more support for electric vehicles, and public demand was just surging. And get this, all of this was happening during a global pandemic. Just incredible.
The result? It was absolutely astounding. At its peak during this crazy run, Tesla's market value hit around $700 billion. Now, to really put that into perspective for you, the company was worth more than giants like Volkswagen, Hyundai, General Motors, and Ford combined. It was a valuation that screamed a massive shift was happening in the auto industry.
But you know, this incredible wave of wealth wasn't just for Elon Musk. The ripple effect was huge, and it was felt by thousands of regular, everyday investors who had bet on the company way back in the early days.
In fact, it created a whole new word for these people. Teslionaires. A pretty catchy name, right? It's for this new class of millionaires whose fortunes were literally made by believing in Tesla's vision before it was cool.
So let's make this real. Let's look at an actual example of how this worked. Imagine this. Someone invests about 143,300 Thai baht in Tesla stock back in January of 2020, and they just hold on to it. They don't do anything else. By January 2021, just 1 year later, that investment would have been worth over 1 million baht. Boom! They would have become a Teslionaire in their local currency.
So, with his net worth shooting through the roof and the eyes of the entire world on him, how did the man himself, Elon Musk, actually react to all the news?
Well, his very first comment, which he shared on Twitter, was incredibly low-key. Just 2 words, "How strange." That's it. That was his initial public reaction to becoming the richest human being on Earth.
And then he followed that up, a little while later, with a message that is just so on brand for him. Well, back to work. I mean, it's classic Musk, right? It just reinforces that reputation he has as someone who is relentlessly focused on his mission, not the money.
And that actually brings us to the final and honestly the most fascinating part of this whole story, Musk's ultimate mission. What's the goal for all of this wealth?
Look, he's said time and time again that he has very little interest in just accumulating wealth for its own sake. He isn't planning on buying bigger houses or fancy yachts, even claiming he barely has time for the work he's already doing.
Instead, he claims his real purpose is twofold. He sees about half of his fortune as a resource to help solve some of Earth's biggest problems. And the other half, well, that's dedicated to his ultimate ambition, funding a self-sustaining city on Mars.
And why Mars? You know, from Musk, it's not about adventure. It's about survival. He sees an off-world colony as a kind of lifeboat for humanity, a backup plan just in case of a catastrophe on Earth. We're talking about an asteroid impact like the one that wiped out the dinosaurs, or maybe even a devastating World War III.
And what's really remarkable is that this may just be the start.
With the trajectory of his companies, especially SpaceX and Tesla, some analysts are actually predicting that Elon Musk could eventually become the world's very first trillionaire.
Which, leaves us with one final kind of provocative thought. He became the richest person on Earth. But if his ultimate plan actually works out, could he one day also become the first richest person on Mars?